Hello, hello. Howdy. Yeah, sorry, I messed up the wrong thing there. All right, what's going on? Yeah, I'm a little tardy to the party, right? Because you know, taking care of dogs and shit. What is up though? Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about today. Um, so I guess let's just get right into it. Um, Let me just pull up. Okay. Ayo. Well, I guess I'll leave right there. Okay, so there's a lot going on with Ukraine and Russia right now. Basically, the gist is that there is very high tensions between the two uh, nation states. Um, Actually, give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. So there's a lot of tension right now between these two nation states, and um, we're going to hear what Joe Biden, the president of the United States, said. I think this was last night, for sure. Okay, let's listen.
$50.
All right, Richard, here's the president.
Today, I made two vital calls, as I've been making for some months now. Two vital calls that on the situation in Russia and Ukraine. The first was to a bipartisan group of members of Congress who are currently representing the United States, along with Vice President Harris at the Munich Security Conference. The second was the latest in a series of calls over the past many months with the heads of state of our NATO allies and the European Union, to bring them up to date on what the United States thinks is the current state of affairs and what's likely to happen in Ukraine in the coming days, to ensure that we continue to remain in lockstep, that is, the European Union and NATO. Despite Russia's efforts to divide us at home and abroad, I can affirm that has not happened. The overwhelming message of on both calls was one of unity, determination, and resolve. I shared with all of those on the calls what we know about a rapidly escalating crisis in Ukraine. Over the last few days, we've seen reports of a major uptick in violations of the ceasefire by Russian-backed fighters attempting to provoke Ukraine in the Donbass. For example, a shelling of a Ukrainian kindergarten yesterday, which Russia has falsely asserted was carried out by Ukraine. We also
Yeah, so just so you are aware, this is typical with any country, and this is a very old guard way of conducting imperialism. Countries or nation states that are interested in annexing or invading another country will do multiple ways or multiple things in which justify the action of invading. Because obviously, if they just invade or annex a certain territory, then the reciprocation from the global community would be like very severe. there will be it's just optically better to try and make it where there is a pretense to war or a reason for why they need to invade another country. So Russia claiming that this bombing was from Ukraine is is rather consistent with how nation states are able to justify acts of war or annexation or invasions. You've seen this all the time in history too. Like with Hitler, for example, when he annexed the Sudetenlands, basically the argument there was, they're already, ethnically like similar to Germany, and so there's a lot of different means in which a state can annex or justify the actions by which they conduct their imperialism.
Continue to see more and more disinformation being pushed out to the Russian public, including Russian-backed separatists, claiming that Ukraine is planning to launch a massive offensive attack in the Donbass. Well, look, there is simply no evidence of these assertions, and it defies basic logic to believe the Ukrainians would choose this moment, with well over 150,000 troops arrayed on its borders, to escalate a year-long conflict.
Biden, by the way, is spin here. The idea that Ukraine is going to poke the bear, which is Russia, knowing that they have an enormous amount of mobilization around their own border, is comically insane.
Russia's state media also continues to make phony allegations of a genocide taking place in the Donbass and push fabricated claims warning about Ukraine's attack on Russia without any evidence. That's just what I'm sure Ukraine's thinking of doing, attacking Russia.
Yeah, again, I don't want to pause any time, but that isn't just another example of how a nation state is able to justify the actions of invading another country. If they basically frame it as we need to take action now before they retaliate against us. This was the same mentality that the United States adopted post 9/11.
All of these are consistent with the playbook the Russians have used before to set up a false justification to act against Ukraine. This is also in line with the pretext scenarios that the United States and our allies and partners have been warning about for weeks. Throughout these tense moments, the Ukrainian forces have shown great judgment and, I might add, restraint. They refused to allow the Russians to bait them into war. But the fact remains, Russian troops currently have Ukraine surrounded from Belarus along the Russian border and with Ukraine to the Black Sea in the south and all of its border. Look, we have reason to believe the Russian forces are planning to and intend to attack Ukraine in the coming days. We believe that they will target Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, a city of 2.8 million innocent people. We're calling out Russia's plans loudly and repeatedly, not because we want a conflict, but because we're doing everything in our power to remove any reason that Russia may give to justify invading Ukraine and prevent them from moving. Make no mistake, if Russia pursues its plans, it will be responsible for a catastrophic and needless war of choice. The United States and our allies are prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory from any threat to our collective security as well. We also will not send troops in to fight in Ukraine, but we will continue to support the Ukrainian people. This past year, the United States provided a record amount of security assistance to Ukraine to bolster its defenses, $650 million from Javelin missiles to ammunition. We also previously provided $500 million in humanitarian aid and economic support for Ukraine. And earlier this week, we also announced an additional sovereign loan guarantee of up to $1 billion to strengthen Ukraine's economic resilience. But the bottom line is this: the United States and our allies and partners will support the Ukrainian people. We will hold Russia accountable for its actions. The West is united and resolved. We're ready to impose severe sanctions on Russia if it further invades Ukraine. But I say again, Russia can still choose diplomacy. It is not too late to de-escalate and return to the negotiating table. Last night, Russia agreed that Secretary of State Blinken and Foreign Minister Lavrov should meet on February 24th. February 24th in Europe. But if Russia takes military action before that date, we'll be clear that they have slammed the door shut on diplomacy. They will have chosen a war, and they will pay a steep price for doing so, not only from the sanctions that we and our allies will impose on Russia, but the moral outrage the rest of the world will visit upon them.
So an argument could be made that sanctions harms the citizens of a certain country, and it certainly does. However, I don't know what else could possibly be done in order to deter Russian aggression towards Ukraine. Obviously, the United States is, as Biden mentioned here, sending resources and support towards the Ukrainian troops to defend themselves. If they still decide, however, Russia to invade Ukraine or to take military action against it, then, I don't know what else could be done to deter that behavior outside of sanctions or some sort of economic means. Because obviously sending in troops against Russia would be World War III. So it's not a good situation regardless.
There are many issues that divide our nation and our world. But standing up to Russian aggression is not one of them. The American people are united. Europe is united. The transatlantic community is united. Our political parties in this country are united. The entire free world is united. Russia has a choice between war and all the suffering it will bring, or diplomacy that will make a future safer for everyone. Now, I'm happy to take a few questions. Nancy from Bloomberg.
Thank you so much, sir. Do you think that it is wise for President Zelensky to leave Ukraine if an invasion is as imminent as the U.S. says it is?
That's a judgment for him to make and a determination as to whether or not. I've spoken with Zelensky a dozen times, maybe more, I don't know. And it's in the pursuit of a diplomatic solution, it may not be it may be the wise choice, but it's his decision.
And do you have any indication about whether President Putin has made a decision on whether to invade? Do you feel confident that he hasn't made that decision already?
As of this moment, I'm convinced he's made the decision. We have reason to believe that.
There seems to be a unanimity of spirit between the United States and Europe to do some sanctions, the comprehensive sanctions. But is everyone on board with the exact same sanctions that you want to do?
Yes. There will be some slight differences, but there'll be more add-ons than subtractions.
And President Putin is going to oversee some nuclear drills this weekend. How do you see that happening? What's your reaction to that, sir? Thank you.
Well, I don't think he is remotely contemplating using nuclear weapons. But I do think I think he is...
That's interesting. So, yeah, in light of that information, I saw this story, which was 4 hours ago by AP, which is pretty reputable. Putin to oversee nuclear drills as Ukraine crisis mounts, which is very interesting. Russia, this could just be a deterrent. There's no way in hell he would actually use it. Russia's President Putin set to oversee exercises by strategic nuclear missiles forces on Saturday, as Western leaders gathered in Munich, fearful that he could order truce massed on. Russia-backed separatist leaders in eastern Ukraine declared a full military mobilization a day after ordering women and children to evacuate to Russia, citing the threat of an imminent attack by Ukrainian forces. Again, and I'll say this multiple times, this is the framework by which imperialist forces are able to justify their actions. They will always make up some excuse so as to justify the action of invading or annexing or what have you, because doing it flat out will make them have no plausible deniability whatsoever with regards to their actions. So this is something that has been seen and observed throughout history. Kiev flatly denied the accusation. Yeah, we know. Multiple explosions could be heard on Saturday morning in the north of separatist-controlled city of Donetsk, or Donetsk? I don't know how to say that. In eastern Ukraine. Okay. The origin was not immediately clear. Oh, this is Rutgers, by the way. Wait, is it? Yeah. My bad. I said it was AP. That was my mistake. Russia ordered the military buildup while demanding NATO stop Kiev ever joining the alliance, but says predictions it is planning to invade Ukraine are wrong and dangerous. That is certainly interesting. So, Russia ordered the military buildup while demanding NATO stop Kiev ever joining the alliance, but says predictions it is planning to invade Ukraine. If this were true, wait, it says it is now pulling back while Washington and allies insist the buildup is continuing in one of the worst crises since the Cold War. U.S. President Joe Biden who has given regular warnings of an impending invasion, said on Friday he now believes the capital Kiev would be targeted by Russia, but that he does not think Putin is even remotely contemplating. Yeah, so that's something that he did say. Yeah, we just saw that actually. Right. Putin will oversee exercises by Russia's nuclear forces on Saturday involving the launch of ballistic and cruise missiles, the defense ministry said. Kremlin spokesperson said the exercise is part of regular training. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay. So regular training, which happens to correspond with increased tensions against their neighboring country. That's such a fucking weak response. That's obviously this nuclear regular training bullshit is obviously an attempt to spook people away, you know? Analysts said it was a show of strength. Nuclear forces exercise sending messages to the U.S. that it leans harder on Kiev. That's kind of what I said just now. Russia has released footage shows withdrawing troops from the border, but the United States says there has been a ramp up between that many from 100,000 at the end of January. Okay, so they're mobilizing some more tanks and shit. Yeah, gotcha. This is according to U.S.-based technologies, which tracks developments with satellite imagery. The Kremlin has also tens of thousands of troops staging exercises in Belarus, north of Ukraine, that are due to end on Sunday. Okay. Another separatist leader signed a similar decree. Okay, separatist authorities on Friday announced plans to evacuate around 700,000 people, citing fears of an imminent attack by Ukrainian forces, which is an accusation that Kiev has denied, which obviously. Okay. So taking into account that, so basically Russia is denying their intentions on invading Ukraine, which is interesting because they have tons of forces surrounding the border that they, are ostensibly, withdrawing. But what's also interesting is that there's this chart from the Ukraine Ministry of Defense that cites that there has been a great number of ceasefire violations conducted here. This dramatic line here, which doesn't state whether this doesn't by itself state whether or not an invasion or conflict is, or this doesn't flat out state that there's an invasion happening right at this moment or whatever. However, it is a red flag that there is violence or something on the horizon to take place rather soon. So taking into account that, Kamala Harris was speaking about Ukraine in Munich, and this basically sums up, or reiterates what we heard Biden speaking about before, which is that Russia will be, sanctions will be imposed upon Russia if they seek military action against Ukraine. So yeah, taking all of this into consideration, we are there's very high tensions right now between the two countries. You have one side saying that they're withdrawing troops and that they're not going to invade, and then you have another side saying that invasion is imminent. Given the history of Russia and their sort of manifest destiny on reuniting the Soviet Union, and the fact that there were ceasefire violations and so forth, it seems as though they are preparing to invade, despite their denial of such. Now, I just want to look something really quickly. Because he did mention a genocide taking place in Donbass region, which I do want to look a little more into. And we will learn together. Live. We're going to do it live. Okay. All right, let's learn together. So, this is the claim. Ready? Russia, in a report to the UN, again accuses Ukraine of genocide amid shelling in Donbass region. Russia has alleged Ukraine's military has committed crimes against the residents of the eastern Donbass region, according to documents seen by the Wall Street Journal. Now, before we go any further, 1 second. Donbass. Let's look where it is geographically, okay? Okay. Oh, here we go. The Donbass region is right here, which is like on the border of Ukraine. Okay, cool. That is good to know. Okay. Moscow's report, which it filed with the United Nations, doubles down on its accusation that Ukraine is seeking the genocide of the Russian-speaking population of Donbass, the documents read. The country's UN ambassador is also expected on Thursday to criticize both Ukraine and the West regarding the plight of Russian speakers in eastern Ukraine. Okay. So there's a claim. It doesn't seem to be substantiated as of yet, but earlier Thursday, the Ukrainian government and pro-Russian separatists accused one another of opening fire to Ukraine's war-torn eastern Donbass region, which is from Axios. Kiev claims a kindergarten was struck, but no one was killed. Okay. Both Ukrainian and Western officials have previously cautioned Russia could use separatist fighting to fabricate supposed grounds for an invasion. There is historical precedent for this to happen, because we have seen it time and time again throughout history. Not specifically just with Russia, but with other countries. President Biden warned Russia could use false flag operation to justify an attack, making the repeated claim of genocide particularly ominous at this time. Reports of alleged abnormal military activity by Ukraine and Donbass are a blatant attempt by the Russian government to fabricate pretexts for invasion. This is straight out of Kremlin playbook. Meanwhile, the Kremlin maintains the situation in Donbass is ramping up thanks to what is calling provocative action on Ukraine's part. The situation at the borders of Russia may ignite at any moment. Okay, we understand this. Okay, and then we have that. Is there any fact check on this? I would like to. All I'm seeing is Haldimir, which is tangentially related, I suppose. Yeah, I would like to know. I want more information on this, because this is kind of what they do. You know what? I'm gonna get my. I'm gonna. Hopefully this isn't paywalled, but I'm gonna get my information from my Western source, because that is based. Residents near Ukraine's front line rushed into the basement for... Oh, God, I hate the fucking writing. Okay, okay. Does this, like, read normally? Come on. Okay, I can't read New York Times. They're too cringe. Let's see. Okay, let's just read this, I suppose. Russia president claims he does not want to start a war, but that there's a genocide taking place in the Donbass region. Yeah, honestly, I probably shouldn't do this live. Right. So I encourage everyone watching me, as well as myself, who will probably do this post-stream, but to read a little bit more on the Donbass region and what's going on there. However, the pattern that is often so the pattern that's often repeated amongst imperialist forces is that they need a reason to invade or annex a specific region. And as I mentioned before, the reason for this is due to, you know, it's political, basically, because they can't flat out say, I'm just going to invade Ukraine, or do it rather silently. They need to fund, as they have already, pro-secessionist groups within the state that they want to annex or invade, while in addition spreading either misinformation or propaganda amongst the world so as to disillude people from parsing out or partitioning what's real and what's not with you know, what's actually happening. So all this seems to be some sort of an attempt to justify invasion, while additionally obfuscating the true motivations of Russia with regards to like invading. So the tensions are very high right now. And you know, we can discuss a little bit, I suppose, about why Russia wants to invade Ukraine. A lot of it, so one reason is due to them wanting to reunite certain former Soviet blocs with Russia. It's sort of a rallying cry for the Russian people to reunite and do that. Also, you know, there's you know, obviously economic reasons. You know, with respect to, you know, natural resources. So like there's multiple factors at play with regards to why Russia wants to invade Ukraine. In spite of this, they have claimed that they're not going to, but we're going to see about that. But I think that's all I have in terms of Ukraine updates, because that's like the, you know, biggest thing. Biden claims, obviously, that Putin has decided to invade. Yeah, it's very interesting. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I have this is a very fast evolving story, and honestly, when the stream is over, there's probably going to be more updates and shit. So I encourage everyone, however, to always, 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 always conduct your own research and to focus on getting your information from reliable sources, because that's very important. But yeah, so because obviously with this story, there's a lot of there is a lot of misinformation out there. RT is not a reliable source because I prioritize Russian propaganda. The Gray Zone, not reliable. You know, just obviously make sure that the information wherever you're getting it from is reliable with respect, not just to this story, but with anything. But I'm isolating this story specifically just because there is information or misinformation that is being propagated from Russia so as to justify invasion. So just with anything, just do your own research is what I'm saying. But we'll see what happens with this situation. But right now, I um, feel very bad about uh, the Ukrainian citizens who are within uh, around that border region. So Ukraine in general, actually. But yeah, so hopefully things pan out well. Hopefully, no military action is taking place before February 24th, and things can be, smoothed out diplomatically. All right, nice, nice, nice. All right, 1 second. Awesome, cool. Um, yeah. So, in other news, I got a we got a puppy, a new puppy. Because we love torturing ourselves with you know, going through potty training and all that shit. We're sadists or masochists in that respect, and it's been rough. Not gonna lie. Um, he's obviously like 9 weeks old, but it is a grind to say the least. Uh, Definitely a grind. I would show him, but he's sleeping right next to me. Ooh. And I took him out just before the stream, and it's all snowy outside, right? So he it was the first time he went outside by himself, or not by himself, but the first time he went outside, he was running around in the snow with my other dog, and he was still, I think he was timid or overwhelmed because he was like sniffing and stuff, so it wasn't um he wasn't used to it, I suppose, but yeah, so that's pretty cool. All right. Um, Wait a minute. Is this, hold on. This person, one of Jeffrey Epstein's close associates and alleged procurers, was found hanging in a prison cell. The video camera in the cell was not running at the time. This is some conspiracy theory bullshit. Wait, that's actually crazy, because isn't that the same way Jeffrey Epstein died? I need some confirmation or a source on this. I can't just take it at face value. Okay, he died today. Yeah, yeah, this is okay. Hold on. Wait, they're framing this. CNN's framing it as he was a French modeling agent, not a close associate with Jeffrey Epstein. Uh, well, okay, whatever. Yeah, let's go with this. Okay, hold on. I know this is a little off script here, but I am curious. So the former model agency boss accused of rape and suspected of trafficking minors has died in prison. This is what gives fucking QAnon like more ammunition or whatever. The former boss, yeah, he was found dead in prison. The body was reportedly found hanging in a cell in the early hours of Saturday. So that's today. The French prosecutors, um, hold on one second. I'm so sorry. Hold on one second. Okay, hold on. I just want to change one thing for the stream. Okay. That should have updated. I'm sorry about the detour there. Let me go back. Okay. Let's start this over. Okay. So I saw a hold on. Okay. So, let me change the thing here. Not that. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so I saw this just now on my TL, and at first it took me a minute to process what the fuck is going on. This is actually not the OG tweet from Gravel. It was a little different at this end. I think they said, according to reports, there's no. Yeah, you can just rewind the stream if you want, but very interesting. So we're gonna read a little bit about this because I don't know what the fuck's going on. So the former boss of a French model agency accused of rape and under investigation and suspicion of supplying underage girls to the late American financier Jeffrey Epstein has been found dead in prison. The body, 75, was reportedly found hanging in his cell in the early hours of Saturday. The French prosecutor's office confirmed the report and said an inquiry has been opened into the exact cause of death, but early indications point to suicide. Dude, that's the same shit with Epstein. Like, the same thing. Isn't that the same way Epstein died? He hung himself in his prison, like in his cell, right? Like, I'm not like hallucinating that. That's what happened. He was arrested December 2020 before boarding a plane. Yeah, where he told police he was going on a holiday. Okay. He was officially put under investigation on allegations of the alleged rape of a minor and sexual harassment shortly after his arrest, and was put under the second investigation for the rape of a minor in June last year. Investigators had also questioned Brunel on suspicion of the human trafficking of underage girls. I don't know who the fuck this is, by the way. Like this guy, I don't know who he is, but I'm learning. The It's pretty fucking wild. Okay, so it seems like they're going into detail about this. So he was convicted of sex trafficking. French prosecutors said Brunel's death would be put at an end to the legal cause unless other suspects were under investigation. Whew, boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is a, hold on. Okay. Yeah, so apparently there was faulty cameras, which is what made it to where we as the public or as the prosecuting team or what have you cannot we have like no like video evidence of him hanging himself or whatever, but that's just what the reports are saying. So yeah, that's pretty wild. I don't know what else to say about this, but that is pretty wild. Yeah, isn't like I said, like I'm pretty sure that's the same way Epstein died too, like exactly the same way. Huh? Very interesting. Okay. Um. Yeah, you know what? There is a global conspiracy taking place. Uh, it is happening. The storm is coming, as they say. Um, oh Jesus. Okay, we're done with that. We're done with that. That was just an aside thing I wanted to touch on because I don't know. Okay. In other news, there was another thing I did want to talk about. Oh yeah. Okay. Let me just set this up. Wait a minute. Okay, so what we're gonna do is talk about something that's totally more important than anything else. Okay. 1 second. Okay. My dog is freaking out for no reason. And my other one's just right here chilling. Jay chilling. Oh god. Okay. All right. Now we're good. Now we're good. All right. So, last week, there was the Super Bowl. There's this thing called the Super Bowl, right? It is where two football teams, American football teams, play each other and they try to win. Now, with these Super Bowls, people always freak out, apparently, every year when it comes to it. I have no idea why. And the only people who are freaking out are usually those of which that have nothing else to talk about or who are trying to shoehorn in some sort of, political message for no reason. So anyway, this year, the Super Bowl halftime was the point of contention, and it involved. So the Super Bowl halftime show for this year was had Eminem, Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, and Mary Blige, or I think that's her name, and Dr. Dre. Did I say that already? I don't know. But so yeah, you had all these hip hop artists, right? And similarly to last year, I think it was last year, the Super Bowl halftime show was with J Lo and Shakira. I think I'm pretty sure that was last year. Yeah, and conservatives were very mad about it. They were seething, as one may say. Um, but this year it's a little different. The tone is they're taking a different approach here because last year they were focused on the fact that this was not representative of feminism or whatever, right? It was sexist, I guess. Um, so yeah, there was that, and this year they are taking more of a racial approach. So let's just observe the madness ourselves. So Candace Owens made a tweet here, right? Now, she's actually praising the halftime show, which is a little surprising. And it was just funny because last year, or not last year, this year, the Super Bowl was like, it wasn't like that good, the halftime show. There was not a lot of special effects. It wasn't that good, you know? Um, so that was a critique. Honestly, I mean, it was fine, I guess, but like, it wasn't great. But it's just interesting that the time that I don't think it's okay, or I don't think that was really entertaining, is the time that, yeah. So anyway, so we have some screenshots of some saltine crackers on Twitter freaking out, and they say things like Eminem was the only white person in the entire performance, which is so funny because they don't give a fuck about uh, diversity as it pertains to minority groups. It's only conveniently when it's for people who have a hegemonic presence within media already. That's just interesting to cite there. So you have another complaint about no diversity, obviously. Besides Eminem, there's no diversity. Very disappointed. All rap, although I like it, it's better when they mix different styles of music, so don't discriminate so hard. By discriminate, this person is... I'm assuming this is in conjunction with the music. Like, they want more different styles of music. Yeah, they say that explicitly. Yeah. But, like, there's nothing discriminatory against having people on, you know? Like what are we talking about? Nearly 1% diversity. So sad. What's sadder is these people's, like, you know, obsession over diversity randomly. NFL dismissed 70% of America with halftime debacle. What is the debacle, though? I don't understand that. And where did that 70% figure come from? I'm going to need a source on that. So this is the worst ever, and like usually the NFL has to push that diversity crap, but yet there was no diversity. Maybe a rock musician and a hip-hop artist, each one doing a performance, then let the crowd decide who gets a bigger cheer. What? I don't know what they're upset about here. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, whatever. It was discussing our young children couldn't watch this vile crap. Yeah, so this is another thing about conservatives. They get more riled up about, like, culture war shit, which the Super Bowl is, you know, within the purview of. And they just get very upset about it, right? And in relation to what this person's concern is, prior years, like with the J-Lo Shakira halftime show, they said it was too raunchy, that it was, you know, too revealing, and it was basically watching a strip tease on live television. And it's just like multiple layers of supposed outrage, right? Now, with this, it's like, why are you letting your kids watch the halftime show? First off, why are you letting your kids on a school night stay up that late, for starters? But additionally, and with respect at least to this year's halftime show, what the hell was vile? What was vile about it? I'm truly at a loss. Like my brain cannot process the outrage over what was vile about this. It's just amazing. And conservatives don't give a fuck about children. So I don't. It's just a fucking virtue signal there. Candace, please tell me that you are kidding. That was really ghetto. NFL, NBC, Pepsi showed zero diversity. Ghetto to this man just means black people are on a screen doing things, doing stuff, anything. That's what ghetto means to them, which is super racist. Except it looked like they banned white people from the field. Had the demographics been the other way, they would be calling for the boycott of the NFL. What? Okay, there's no point taking this person seriously. I'm sorry. The NFL produced a halftime show featuring music that is the anthem for sexual assault, promiscuity. What? Sexual. What the fuck are these people talking about? Okay, violence against the law enforcement is not necessarily morally wrong, nor is promiscuity. Promiscuity, whatever. I mean, obviously, sexual assault is, but like these two things don't necessarily fall within that category of morally wrong. Really? Dr. Dre still not loving the police and I representing all the gangsters in the streets. Great message to our youth. Yeah, it is actually. Unironically. His music is all about killing cops and using the N-word. Come on, NFL can do much better. Well, it's not about killing cops. It's about defending against violence enacted from cops, by cops. Whoa, 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 whoa! I can't show that on stream. Okay. Yeah. That's some big racist bullshit. Damn. Yeah, dude. I see this meme happen all the time, but it's so fucking funny. This whole like, there's no diversity, and like they'll say the most like, either racist or whatever shit, and it's always these fucking people. I swear, it's the same look. It's the same look. This is supposed to be, according to these people, like, they're supposed to be the master superior race. Like, fuck, dude. Alright, well, that was that. So, we're going to explore a little bit of the mind of Ben Shapiro specifically, because he has made multiple videos about the Super Bowl and his contempt for the NFL. So, we're going to see what he has to say about it. I don't know how much of this I'm going to watch, but if it's funny, we'll keep watching.
Last night, of course, was the Super Bowl. And I have to say, the power of capitalism to basically use whatever it can, whatever's at hand, to make money is truly astonishing. It was kind of bizarre to watch the Super Bowl, particularly the halftime show yesterday, and note that all these people who were rebels against the cause, these were folks who were rebelling against the system, systemic racism, here they are being paid by the NFL, which is one of the biggest corporations in America, the most powerful entertainment in the country, to sing songs on behalf of these corporate overlords, these rebels against the cause. And meanwhile, the NFL is happy to make money and make ratings off of a group of people who, in any sort of normal circumstances, would have been canceled years ago.
Wait. So, first off, I appreciate Ben Shapiro's level of analysis here. He's introducing a class dynamic to something that I would have never imagined to have done with respect to the Super Bowl. But also, I don't really understand what the point he's trying to make, because, yeah, the NFL is a private corporation that is interested in making money. We live in a market capitalist society. Like, what is he confused about? He's like signaling supposed hypocrisy here.
There are a lot of criminal convictions on that particular stage. There are a lot of lyrical violations of sort of social norms on that stage. I'm not talking about right-wing social norms.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, dude, come on. What the fuck are you doing here? He would have never said this shit he would have never brought up the criminal convictions thing if it were any other situation. If it was not politically expedient to him. What about what the fuck's her name? Martha Stewart, right? Insider trading? Like, whenever she's on screen, are you saying the same shit? Like, come on. He's only mentioning it because there's black people on stage. That's the only reason he's mentioning it. And obviously Eminem.
I'm not talking about Tipper Gore saying that we ought to have warnings on lyrics. I'm talking about left-wing social norms. But the fact is that capitalism can take the piss and vinegar out of pretty much anything. And that's what that halftime show was last night. Honestly, number one, it demonstrates how old our country is, because this is now throwback music for people who are about my age. And I'm 38. And I was watching some of the Super Bowl with some friends last night who are early 40s.
Wait, hold on. Before he goes into any points here, if I were to grant that premise that the music was like really old, which some of it was, sure. You had some OGs there, right? But like, isn't the NFL like the decision to have like certain artists at a halftime show predicated on what will generate the most viewers or viewings or ratings or whatever, right? So isn't this just a product of market forces? Isn't that a good thing? Or Ben Shapiro should be praising this, if anything. He's a capitalist, right? A supposed capitalist.
And they were bopping out to music that they were listening to in high school because our entire culture now revolves around the artists of 20 years ago. And these are all...
Wait, hold on. Does he not know that Lil Nas X is like one of the biggest rap artists, if not the biggest rap artist right now, like trending? What about Billie Eilish? What about the Chainsmokers? Like, what the fuck's this guy talking about?
A bunch of 50-year-old rappers. I mean, the fact Mary J. Blige is...
Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on. The Chainsmokers specifically, they were one of the bands who played in the pre-show at the Super Bowl, actually. So yeah, some modern music here. Also, what does it matter? Who cares?
1 years old. And this is the younger crowd now. Remember that for the past couple of Super Bowls, they've gone a little younger. I did Bruno Mars, and then they did The Weeknd, and these are younger folks. But they went back to kind of the old, right, the classic rap gods of the 1990s and early.
Well, again, I feel like that decision is primarily driven by what's going to make them the most money, right? Like, they're not just going to pick random people.
2000s. And I just want to point out once more that the social standards that the left holds when it comes to culture just do not exist. They do not exist.
I don't know where he's getting the left from. Like, what's the connection there? I don't understand the relationship.
Violence against women, apparently totally okay. You don't get canceled over that anymore.
Wait, where is there violence? Hold on.
Depending on who you are and what kind of art you perform. The lyrics that are overtly anti-gay, totally fine, so long as you also hate Donald Trump. So long as you are seen as a weapon against the system, the left is willing to take you back in, and, hilariously, corporations are willing to use you as their spokespeople, and you're willing to take their money. This is really corrupt and perverse little tie, but you do have to appreciate the power of money-making to really take any sort of power and edge out of the message and just turn it into pap that you pump into elevators. It really is kind of an amazing thing.
This is a very disjointed level of analysis by Ben, because on one hand, he's sort of kind of critiquing capitalism because it's lefty, like, biased, but also just saying, yeah, like, it's just kind of a weird thing to care about. Also, I do criticize specifically Eminem for his anti-gay, like, lyrics and shit. That is worth criticizing.
Let me just point out who was on the stage last night during the Super Bowl halftime show, because this really did occur to me while I was watching it, is that the NFL has been attempting to get away from the, we are the league that has a lot of criminal convictions routine. They've been attempting to get away from this. And so on the stage, they had Dr. Dre.
I don't understand why that is relevant.
Has been accused of multiple instances of violence against women, including assault of Dee Barnes, who's convicted in 1991. Quote, people talk all this bleep, but somebody F's with me, I'm going to F with them. A woman named Michelle, who was the mother of one of his children, accused him of domestic violence. Another woman named Terry B. accused a higher plot,
okay,
but
I'm starting to get bored.
Let's just say that these are offenses that in sort of a normal world would get canceled these days, right? Because time is of no limit. When we go back 20, 30 years and find stuff about people and destroy them. But Dr. Dre was leading this off as a great hero of the Republic, and then he had Snoop Dogg, who, of course...
Wait, I'm sorry. Can we do you not believe that there is a difference between sexual assault or whatever taking place in the past between someone who is going to be representing, who is like a public figure, like representing the government, like such as Brett Kavanaugh, right? Like a politician or someone like that versus like a celebrity? Now, I'm not saying that the action of sexual assault is lessened in severity depending on who conducts it or does it. However, I feel as though there is a difference between that kind of crime being committed by someone who's supposed to represent the people versus someone who is a private citizen. I think that there is a distinction there worth addressing. But also... He's talking about these allegations against these people, and they're probably true, I guess. But like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, fine, criticize them. That's fine. I don't care. But what's the? I don't understand the hypocrisy. I don't understand where there is hypocrisy, I guess, here.
Has been arrested for everything from cocaine possession to first and second degree murder. He was acquitted on those charges, but arrested for them, to drug and firearm possession.
He was wait, hold on. You can't gloss over that, Ben. He was acquitted. Yeah, okay, he was acquitted. So then there was not enough evidence to convict him for said charges. Now, I'm not saying that our criminal justice system is very, effective, right? But I mean, the fact that they let a black man out of acquitted him of murder and shit is a little telling. I guess it depends on, the amount of wealth that he had at the time, because that plays a huge factor in whether or not you can get convicted, but I don't know.
To implication in a rape case. He wasn't arrested for that, but there was an implication that he was involved. He was last arrested in 2012 for possession. And Snoop Dogg, of course, is now a hero of our culture. And by the way...
Wait, hold on. No one has ever said he's a hero of our culture. Literally nobody on this planet has ever said that. Not one. Not one person has said that or even implied it. No, so, look, there is definitely a lot of history associated with everyone, right? Everyone has a spotty history. Now, these people specifically have, like these rap artists, they, it's just a reflection of the socioeconomic damage done by the government that has led them down their criminal behavior, right, or their criminal history. I'm not justifying the actions of their crimes, assuming that a lot of what he's saying is being framed in good faith, I guess. But the reason for this we can attribute towards the lack of government support for the communities that those individuals resided in prior to being rich and famous. I think that's important, because it's not just these people. There's plenty of other individuals who are growing up in poverty or near the poverty line, who are more likely to commit crime. So yeah.
In January, he cut a song that included the following lyrics. And I know it's always a risk when I read lyrics, so we're going to take this slowly, okay? This is the following...
Wait, I'm sorry. And also, isn't it funny that, like, these guys are always saying, why are you digging up 20-year history and trying to ruin a man's career? But yet, he's doing it here, right? Like, with these rap artists?
Lyric. It was in January of this year. Quote, all you N-words out there, take your guns that you're using to shoot each other and start shooting these bitch-ass MFing police. That'll impress a MFing N-word like me. That was like January. And here he is.
Damn, he's spin over here.
Is in the biggest cultural event in America in February.
Yeah.
Right? Rapping at the center of the stage.
Good.
At the behest of a major American corporation. You got 50 Cent up there, who's arrested in 94.
Wait, I'm sorry. I honestly hope that this rubs off on people. I really do. I hope that people become more antagonistic and distrustful of the police until adequate reforms have been implemented to make them less likely or less inclined to be violent with citizens. I'm 100% on board with that.
Cocaine trafficking in 2003 for criminal possession of a weapon. For battery in 2004 for jumping into a crowd to go after a person who threw a water bottle at him. In 2013 for...
Okay, I can't do this. Are we going to get onto a more... Okay, here we go.
As the product that normal Americans will consume. It really is an amazing, amazing thing. I thought the best example of this last night was Eminem. So Eminem, he kneels for a full minute in the middle of this halftime show. And he just kneels and puts his hand on his head for a full minute, right, to demonstrate that he is in touch with the Black Lives Matter movement and with the needs of black people. And it's so funny how the media pretend that this is somehow controversial now. This is it's so funny. So Eminem does this. And Deadline runs an entire piece, Deadline Hollywood. They run this entire piece. The NFL must have been shocked at this, shocked. And then the NFL came out with a statement. And their statement was, oh no, he did this during rehearsal. We knew like the whole time that he was going to do this. So just to understand what the NFL did here, In 2016, Colin Kaepernick, a backup quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers who'd been benched for the immortal Blaine Gabbert because he sucked.
Wait, this is so irrelevant to your point, dude. What is the... You can't just... Oh, Jesus Christ. Poisoning the well, bro. Pouring some cyanide down that well. Shit. Totally irrelevant. He shouldn't have been fired. Oh, my God. I bet... And by the way, these motherfuckers don't even watch football, which is the worst part about it, or the more aggravating element here.
He knelt for the national...
Wait, and I'm just curious. Hold on. Because I think in the later years... Colin Kaepernick was... He started to do bad. I understand that, but he wasn't always terrible. QBR... that's pretty bad, actually. Oh, wow. That's worse than I thought. How many games, though, did he start? 16 in this one. 9.8. Oh, my bad. I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay. 21 TDs, 2013. 8 interceptions. This is just for my own sake. 2016 wasn't too bad. I wonder what the injuries are like that correspond with these numbers, because I'm sure he's had injuries. Hold on. TD percent is important. I'm sorry. I'm doing this because I am sick of this fucking narrative that the NFL, he was benched and he's like a terrible quarterback and that's why he was fired. I'm sick of that being the reason why he like trying to demoralize or throw a red herring out there. That's not bad yards. That's not bad yards. I don't know. It seems like he's average, honestly. Like he really does seem just average. 72 TDs and 30 INTs is a okay ratio. Yeah, I don't think he's that bad. Okay. Yeah, it's totally dishonest. And who was he benched by the way? And why was he benched? Was he benched because he was injured? Or was he benched because there was someone who outperformed him? It's just, yeah. He's assuming he was benched only because he sucks, but there's probably other reasons why.
National anthem. On the basis, by the way, of a police shooting that apparently was justified. And this is after he wore socks that compared police to pigs and all of this. And this created a massive national controversy, right? The NFL got engulfed in it. Now, fast forward 6 years, and Eminem is kneeling for a full minute on the stage to the NFL's approval. The NFL is making money off the kneeling now. That's the power of capitalism, guys. It's so funny. The left thinks that they own the culture, and to a certain extent they do, because when corporations ingest leftism and then spew it back out in a sort of sanitized form, people still ingest leftism in a sanitized form. But there is something very, very humorous about the NFL, which was targeted with these protests, now taking the protests, spinning them around, and making cash off of them.
Okay. Why is he surprised by this fact? He realizes this is a private corporation that is designed solely to make money. Why is this shocking?
There's something really highly hilarious about that. I mean, and this is the message, by the way, from, I would say, the mainstream political left. The mainstream political left will take radical messaging, they will ingest it, they will sanitize it, and then they will spew it back out there for money, which is why you saw in the end zone, and the NFL has been doing this for the last year, really since the Black Lives Matter stuff cropped up over George Floyd's, almost 2 years. They started putting at the end zone the words end racism on one side, and it takes all of us on the other, which of course ends racism. I mean, as we all know, if there's one thing that ends racism in the United States, it is putting the words end racism at the back of the end zone in an NFL game, because they're...
No one said that. Wait, hold on. He's too stupid to understand. Oh my God. Okay. So, putting the words end racism at the end of the end zone was not to be like, oh, this is going to be the be-all, end-all solution. No, 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 because racism, contrary to what Shapiro may believe, can not just take place interpersonally, but also structurally. It takes place that is codified implicitly throughout government policies and laws. So end racism is more of a rallying cry and more of a PR thing than it is that, oh, we're literally mean that putting that is going to end racism. This is what I mean, dude. This guy, like other conservative grifters, are just, they're like, they just lie. Like, that's what they have to do, right? But like, they just make shit up all the fucking time, and it's so aggravating.
Tons of just vicious white racists who are watching the NFL game, and until now, they're ready to go burn a cross on their black neighbor's lawn. But now they saw the words end racism at the back of the end zone. They're like, oh man, F racism. Racism's the worst now. I saw it said end racism in the back of the end zone. Roger Goodell tells me it's time to end racism. And not only that, it takes all of us. Racism ended. Or alternatively, these corporations are playing you. If you're a...
Yeah. Well, how do you know, Ben? Are you the almighty eye in the sky? Are you looking down on the entire citizenry of the United States and independently checking every single person who sees that? Like, how do you know that no one has done this before? How do you know no one has, after seeing end racism at the end of a football field, went outside, looked to the sky, and screamed, "I am now not racist"? How do you know that didn't happen? Is there a source? I'd like to know.
Radical leftists, and you think that these people are your friends, they are playing you. And by the way, if you're on the right and you think these corporations are your friends, they're not. They're willing to use whatever is at hand. If they feel like they can make a buck off the woke by mirroring woke messaging, they will. They have no principles. They don't care. It's all about just making the money.
So if that's the case, why is he then shocked or whatever about the NFL choosing specific people from back in the day? Right? Like these old musicians for the halftime show.
For them. That's all. And the Democratic Party is the same way. So right before the Super Bowl, Joe Biden went on national TV because we have this dumb tradition where the president of the United States hijacks this giant cultural event and does these interviews. By the way, I love the fact that we are still social distancing. So we've got Joe Biden sitting 83 feet.
Okay, he's just going to complain about this.
Rip on the NFL. Also, I don't really care. Black Americans, if you can give us more of your money, in fact, we'll have a halftime show featuring many of your favorite. His policies can be as bad for Black Americans as he wants them to be. And his policies are indeed crappy for Black Americans. His inflation is hitting Black Americans harder than it is hitting white Americans. The unemployment that will likely follow, an increase in the interest rate, will be worse for Black Americans than...
A lot of presuppositions made here. Yeah. As opposed to Trump, right?
He doesn't care about that. He gets NFL for its supposed racism and not having more Black coaches. Says Joe Biden, who goes around bragging about how he worked with segregationists in the 60s.
Right, I'm sorry. He's just complaining at this point. I don't think there's any point in really going more into this. Jesus Christ. Yeah. There's zero point in doing that. All right, cool. That was fun. And frustrating at the same time. Okay, cool. So I did that. There is one more thing I do want to talk about. Let me pull it up. And then this will be the way I'll just wrap up after this because there's really all I wanted to discuss here today. Oh yeah, I will say this. Hold on. A little normal thing for Charlie Kirk to say. Yeah. Dude, he's like one of those Karens from 2004 who was calling the FCC because there was a nipple slip from Janet Jackson. Same fucking vibes. Okay, here we go. This is what I did want to discuss. So, there's this weird fucking, like, urge from Democrats and Democratic leadership to say shit that's really stupid. This is one of those really stupid things. So she basically says, well, I'll let it play a little bit and then we'll get into it.
You've heard me say again and again that the Republicans seem to be having a limbo contest with themselves to see how low they can go. They seem to have reached rock bottom with their statement that what happened on January 6th was normal political discourse. Legitimate political discourse. I've also said that Republican Party, country needs a strong Republican Party. They've made great contributions to our country. I say this to Republicans all the time. Take back your party from this cult. Take back your party. America needs a strong Republican Party and a strong Democratic Party. But it has been hijacked, and it's disturbing to see that the Republican leader of the House actually literally refused to condemn that resolution of legitimate political discourse. He literally ran away from the press when he was asked about his position. The Republicans can run, but they cannot hide from what happened on January 6th to call that legitimate political discourse.
Okay, so here's the thing. Pelosi is unaware of the fact that the conservatives, like the GOP and the Republican Party right now, are crazy. This isn't like them. She's implying through this language that there was once a reasonable Republican Party that is now has been taken over by a cult, which unfortunately is the direction the Republican Party seems to be going for the time, the indefinite future. But before this cult took over, and by that I am presuming the more Trumpian element of the Republican Party, before that they were just as bigoted, just not as flagrantly, and they were also just as corrupt. However, now they are employing more populist rhetoric so as to seem as though they're more reasonable than they actually are. And this is not isolated because Chuck Schumer said something very similar.
Her speech as majority leader. Democrats will always be open to working with members of the other side of the aisle when the opportunity arises. The differences between the parties are real and cannot be ignored, but we can neither ignore the genuine chances for progress when both parties agree to move forward on certain topics.
This is why the Democratic Party is fucking spineless and weak. This is why they will never be able to get what they need to get past, ever. Because there's this whole idea of reaching across the aisle, like with Republicans to pass certain things, but it's like, why? For Republicans, when they're have a majority power in the country, will never do the same, ever. They didn't. We just had 4 years of Trump. That didn't take place. So, do you see these people's voting records? It is always, anytime a Democratic piece of legislation is proposed, whether it be through proposed through Congress, it is always like down party lines with Republicans. And with Democrats, they always cede more ground than they should. This is why they're spineless. This is why they can't get shit done. So there are some things, however, that these two parties do agree upon, and that is like increasing the military budget or doing things that enrich themselves more or perpetuate the status quo. But this is why they're fucking weak. This is why Democrats are like spineless fucks. They can't do anything productive within the chambers of Congress. They cede so much ground to Republicans. Their political strategy is basically, trying to play both sides of catering, reaching across the aisle, while also trying to maintain their own base, but also trying to appeal to the moderate votes. And it's just not effective. And the level of changes, or the level, like the degree rather, of changes that need to be implemented for this country requires so much such a radical shift in our political climate that doing this kind of we'll reach across the aisle, we'll appeal to the moderates, will be sensible. It's so 1990s, and it needs to be reformed for sure. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. But Democrats very cringe, and very ineffective. Um, and I just despise this political move from the leaders of the Democratic Party to say that they need a strong Republican Party, which is funny because, as I will gleefully point out, where is it? Hold on. Oh yeah. So yeah. This is the great contributions that apparently Pelosi believes are actually, you know what, that is bad faith by me. She explicitly condemned this, and she said that they need to take back their party. However, this is their party. This has always been their party. You have California Republican Party admits they placed misleading ballot boxes around the state. This was in the previous 2020 election. What is that a great contribution? Okay. What about pushing anti-protest bills all across the country? Like 39 states, I think. I think there was a bill in Florida that that explicitly legalized basically the ability for someone to run over protesters without, having any charges brought against them. So yeah, I mean, the Republican Party currently should not be tolerated by any means. Like none, zero. The Republican Party needs to sit in the corner for a little bit, let the adults take care of the country, and by that I mean lefties, and yeah, let more progressive politicians play ball, and that's really about it. Oh boy. Oh. Oh man. My puppy is right behind me, so I'm trying not to sit on him. All right, cool. Um, cool, cool, cool. All right, well, that's all I have for today. I guess I'll see if there's anything else, but I think that's it. Yeah. Oh boy. Well, yeah, I guess that will conclude today's stream. Um, yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, whether it be now or after the stream, if you made it this far. And I will see you guys next week.